Hey, I'd like to introduce Rob Dorey, a Director of Business Success Partners. Now, Rob specialises in working with business owners to take their business through to sale and succession. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
Rob, so what's the first step that business owners should know in preparing their business for sale or succession?
In New Zealand, we've got a massive number of SME businesses where the owners are in that late 50s, early 60s, big number of businesses. The key thing people realize, and they probably see amongst their friends, that some of these work and some of them don't. So our game and the offer that we have is that if you plan and go through the process and understand what's going on, psychology of retirement, psychology of succession, and how it's in a business, you can increase the probability of being successful. Our initial thing is basically a business assessment. We come in and look at the business. So there's two dimensions to the succession projects. One is the business ready? And then the second is, are the people ready? And the people being the employees, the people in the business, but more importantly, the owners and the owner's family. Are they ready? And that's where the whole thing starts.
And so where usually is the biggest gap between where the business is at the moment when you first start working with them and getting it to that place of readiness?
I'll probably put it into two buckets. One bucket is the business is ready. It's a very good business. And we use that as a foundation. The other is that the business isn't ready. And the good news about what we do, when we're doing succession planning, it's not a 6-week plan or a 4-week plan, it's a 2 or 3 year plan. So if there's a bunch of work to do on the business, that's where we start. And we use the business success program to do that. The second one is if you've got a very good business doesn't mean let's just create succession in the very good business. What is the opportunity? And the opportunity quite often can be to grow that business and use the program to grow that business with the people that are going to succeed the leadership of that business so that they own the business. And quite frankly, it's a way to pay for sometimes the incremental cost of adding that dimension of leadership into the business.
So if somebody is considering selling or looking at succession planning for their business, what should they do?
Basically, it's an introductory discussion because again, and that's where the whole process comes. Like, are you personally ready? Are you ready? And if you're coming back to sale and succession, is the business ready? And quite often we see there's a lot of opportunity to improve the business. In the case of sale, if you improve the business as the owner, you're going to get paid more for the business. And the irony of it is the probability of the new purchaser being successful is actually higher, because the business is ready. In the case of succession, the idea there, it's the same thing. The degree of success will be how ready the business is. So it's having that discussion and making that determination and developing a plan forward.
So tell me a little bit about the psychology of succession planning.
Yeah, what I said originally was we're looking at two things, business readiness and personal readiness. On the personal readiness side, it's fascinating what's going on around the world in the space. There's a guy out of North America called Dr. Riley Moynes, and he's developed a model which is the 4 phases of retirement. And a lot of this will resonate with you when you look at people that you've seen retire. The first phase he calls sort of the vacation or the holiday. So somebody says, okay, I'm retired and this is fantastic. It's time to do the bucket list and go travel around the world and do all these things and wake up in the morning and have nothing to do and all that sort of stuff. His observation is that lasts for 1 to 2, max 3 years. And it's all over. So the holiday thing is all over. The second one becomes where it's sort of like, this doesn't feel very good moment because you've lost the center of your life. You've lived a 30-year, 40-year career and your career has been a big part of your life. And so people go into this and they basically lose their center and it's not a good place to be. And this is where you hear people of, retiring and then within 2 years they're dead. You know, they basically die or they do whatever, or they signs of depression and all sorts of things. And the trick is to understand that as a possibility and work through it. The third phase of retirement is experimentation, and you'll know people that have experimented. They take up photography, or they do this, or they do a bit of volunteer work, and they do all these things to fill that gap. Some of those work and some of them don't. What he says, where you're headed, and the more you understand about the process, and the sooner you can get there, the better. And it's basically self-actualization, and it's replacing that center that your business played in your life with something else, and it's usually in giving and in all sorts of things. Yeah, something meaningful where you can contribute and you know you're getting things done, and that's where you're headed. And the challenge in retirement 20 years ago used to be retire at 65, have a party, get a watch, do whatever, and you're dead within 3 years. Today, retirement can be 1/3 of your life. You know, you can live for 30 years after you retire. And so bringing that back to SME businesses, it doesn't have to be a lottery. You know, we can do a lot of work that can increase the probability of that retirement being more on the vacation side, more what you think it should be. And that's what we do.
So do you have an example or a case study of succession that you've been involved in personally?
I've got a couple, and none of them are completed because, as I said prior, when we do our projects, you know, they can be 2, 3, 4 year projects in order to deliver what we're talking about. I've got one that I'm probably 18 months through, and it's a great story because what it was, the foundation was a great business. Owners, 60, 61 years old, proactively looking forward, saying, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? And they're asking that question now before they need to. And in that particular case, we started out and we did the full business success program, created a strategy around succession and created a strategy around the business. And in that particular case, what we're doing is we're taking roughly a $1.5 million business, and the 3-year business plan is to double the size of that business. Wow. And we've set about doing that. But the succession piece was, as you can imagine, in a $1.5 million succession business, the current owner is a key part of the success. And what we're talking about is replacing that. So what we did was we put in place and we recruited basically a professional general manager to come into that business and manage this transition. So that owner in this case has now been in the business for about 8 months, actively managing that transition. And the cool thing about the project is the business is growing and the business is continuing to increase its profitability, even though we've added the cost of professional management and we've added to the thing. And so the whole thing, we'll get a path down the road where the general manager has the ability, and that's part of the selection process, to replace the things, the critical things that the owner does. And in this particular case, you know, he's got to be able to sell the services in the business. And that's what we're working on. So we're changing the process and we're doing that. And, you know, we're well down the track. You know, this will be a great story a year or two down the road.
Fantastic. I can't wait to check back in when that's finalised then.
Good one.
Great.